despair and learn the ancient art of savoir-faire. You may think things are still the same, but I'm now the one who controls this game. I can feel it in my veins. I will be all that remains. I'm burning bright, so feel my flame. My rightful throne I've come to claim. Hope you're proud of what I became. Listen well as they scream my name. You may think I've gone insane, but I do not need to explain. I'm queen of the game.
I've always held such admiration for people who find a different path in life, a different route. They zig when everyone else zags. Not because they want to be contrarian or they're seeking attention, but because they sense that another way might take them to where they need, want, deserve to go. Those are the stories I'm drawn to. The ones where possibility wins over predictability. And my guest today embody that spirit completely.
Break out, break out, break out, break out.
Three sisters from Dallas who grew up in a house where music was not a decoration, it was the family language. While other kids followed the usual routine at classrooms and cafeterias, they were learning harmony, practicing instruments, playing fairs and festivals in churches and nursing homes across Texas. They were homeschooled so they could rehearse and tour, and raised by two parents who were both teachers and musicians. They are fourth-generation entertainers who understand that creativity can be a calling and a craft.
You thought you had it all, that you'd be the queen of the ball. I'll make sure no one's above me.
And there's one moment in the story that feels almost mythical. Flying home from Disney World in 2009, and instead of drifting off or flipping through a magazine, they pull out scraps of paper and start sketching band names and logos. Children imagining a future that did not yet exist, but already felt real to them. They kept that sketch. Today it looks less like a doodle and more like a map pointing forward. And speaking of forward, fast forward to today. They've written more than 150 original songs. They play multiple instruments. They've built a global community that shows up from 70 countries.
Rockabye, rockabye, ishodi,
They turned short-form platforms into a live concert stage long before anyone else thought to do it. They stream their own catalog, host their own radio, and release their music directly to fans. They do this with originality, not AI. And along the way, they became role models for kindness, anti-bullying, and believing in yourself. And they've done all of this while staying true to their roots. Sisters who simply love to create together.
Great achievements lie in wait. Shoot your shot and don't be late. Lose your fears and concentrate. Find the power to control your fate.
Hi, it's Tony Chapman. Thank you for listening to Chatter That Matters, presented by RBC. If you can, please subscribe to the podcast, and ratings and reviews, well, they're always welcome and they're always appreciated.
Kaylin, Kelsey, Kristen Kassab, better known as the K3 Sisters Band, welcome to Chatter That Matters.
Thank you for having us.
Yes.
I want you to go back to the beginning. Little girls in Dallas, what was it like just growing up in a home where you're the fourth generation of people with such incredible musicality?
We grew up listening to music all of our lives and just listening to our parents, especially our mom, because she sings all the time.
Yes.
And so we grew up learning how to play the violin, or as we in Texas here say, the fiddle. And we learned using the Suzuki method, which is basically where you start at a very young age. And I was 3, almost 4. And instead of reading music first, you start by hearing, playing by ear.
And I loved how you said that music was like our family language, because it really was. That's how we connected. We have a huge musical family. And so any family gathering, there was bound to be several jam sessions and lots of music and singing. So it was just so great to be able to grow up in that environment. And because when we went on stage, it felt so natural and normal to do it. We didn't really have stage fright because it was what we always did.
And the crazy thing about being fourth generation musicians is that after we would have our family dinner, we were expected to perform at those family jam sessions that would break out. People would start busting out their guitars and mandolins, and it was like, girls, what are we going to sing tonight?
Yeah.
What are we going to do? It already instilled in us the performance mindset.
It was almost like very natural to us because that's what we grew up with.
You remind me a lot of a French-Canadian family. The same thing happened. The fiddle would come out. They go to church. They come out of church. They spend the day eating, singing, dancing, and talking. And I think in some ways we've lost that in our world because everybody separates to their little screen devices, but they don't have this, what I almost call this accordion, where this family just comes together and then explodes in humanity. It must have driven you crazy at times as a kid, but now looking back, you must think that you were blessed to be in that upbringing.
That is something that separates us from other musical acts, is that we are all about the family values. We love connecting with our fans in that way too. And that family is something that you should celebrate,
You're homeschooled. Did you ever at any time say, why can't I just get my new lunch bag and my, all the stuff you get at the beginning of the school and go off to elementary school like every other kid? Was there ever a time where you sort of said, I didn't sign up for this. This is the path my parents were on? Or did you, even from the early days, feel that, music was our destiny?
I can't say that there weren't times where we didn't feel left out because we would look at our friends and our peers and we weren't doing the same kind of things that they got to do. And so we were sad at times, but we did find ways to cope with this. That included learning or involving ourselves in other extracurricular activities. Our grandmother was born in Edinburgh, Scotland, and so she had us learning Scottish Highland dances. We went into 19 public elementary schools and we would perform for the entire school our music and our Scottish Highland dancing. We got to be in the cafeteria, but as performers.
There's a lot of sacrifice that goes into this career. And, we're not in it as like a short fry in the pan. We are here for longevity.
You're out there grinding it out like a lot of musicians. You're playing churches and fairs and you're driving everywhere. And then I guess you get rewarded with a trip to Disneyland. Coming back, the Disney plane story I was struck with because one of the common chords that I've seen in my podcast, whether it's overcoming trauma or going after things, is a sense of writing things down, literally declaring a goal or a dream. So take us back to how old you were when you're on that plane coming back from Disney, and instead of just talking about all the rides you were on, you decided about the ride you wanted to go on.
We had just gone on this Disney World trip, and we would meet people, both in costume and not, these Disney performers, whether it was Peter Pan with his facial expressions or the fully costumed ones like Minnie Mouse and Winnie the Pooh. And we sort of, at that age, we were kids, we revered them because it was like, wow, look at this.
We want to do that some kind of entertainment.
They get to play a character and interact with people, and then they go home. On that plane ride, we started crafting like, we're already musicians. We could, officially start a band. And so the name came really easy because all three of our names start with K. And there's three of us, Kaylin, Kelsey, Kristen, K3 sisters. And we looked and there were several K3s out there, but there were no K3 sisters. And so we were like, this is the name. In fact, we even have these original artworks, beginning sketches. Yeah, so
of our logos.
Our dad grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area and worked there. And we were like, let's maybe steal from the lightning bolt of the Dead.
Grateful Dead, we're like the lightning bolts.
And then we had this, K3 Rocks. That also became a banner later on, K3 Rocks.
Yes, and then
we had this Team K3. That was also a concept.
As you three of you are talking, how do you decide who's kind of got influence, who's got authority? How do you, who has their hand on the rudder, or is it just you slap each other's hands off all the time and figure out where to go?
So it is the most difficult balancing act ever. I mean, we are like walking on a tightrope. That's how it feels. But we've learned that as long as you have a good safety net, that's all that matters. And so we've learned to have discussions where we're like, okay, this is kind of more of a band meeting right now. And then there are other times where we're like, okay, this is a family meeting we want to talk about.
Time.
We've learned to create these boundary lines of when we shouldn't talk about this and when we should talk about this. And the sibling dynamic definitely comes into play in everything we do. Like, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. Sometimes we'll be playing through a new song and then we'll see someone's got a negative expression on their face and we'll say, hey, time out. Like, I see that you're upset. Like, can we talk about it?
It's funny enough, I was talking to my nieces about the Beatles and how many different sounds, and in 8 years, they put together this body of music. And in some ways, you're on a very similar path: rock, folk, pop, country, Celtic, Western swing. I mean, is it just you have this tapestry inside you? You haven't really found one vein to mine? Or is this going to be the K-Sisters from here on in? You never know what you're going to get, but the common chord is it's going to be your music.
Oh, yes. We have spent decades doing research on past trio acts.
Yeah, like Rush. ZZ Top.
Oh, yeah, ZZ Top. Yeah.
The Bee Gees.
So we've kind of had an unfair advantage, with being able to look back and analyze what they did right, what they did wrong. And I mean, that was actually part of our homeschooling study, was past musical acts. Because in order to pave the future, you've got to look towards the past.
Obviously, growing up in Texas, that was a huge inspiration for us. And so whether we were performing at a Texas fair or festival, we did the kind of music that they liked. So if it was a church, we would do gospel music. If it was a country festival, we would do bluegrass because, our dad actually can play like every single bluegrass instrument: banjo, mandolin, guitar, dobro, you name it. And so also just the music from the 60s and 70s also very much influences our sound today. And obviously Celtic, being our heritage from Scotland, that has really come into play as well. And we just like to take from the things that we like and the things that our fans like as well.
You talk about the power of three as your superpower. So unpack that for the audience.
The power of three is so special to us. I mean, the obvious thing right up front is that there's three of us, and that the 3-part harmony is so special in singing and in the musical arts. There's also so many meanings that we look at when you think of three. I mean, there's morning, noon, and night, beginning, middle, end. It's like a magic number.
Trigonometry, the study of the triangle. I mean, why is that?
It's almost bigger than just the metaphysical realm. The number 3 comes up.
There are 3 primary colors.
Well, there's so many ways to take this interview, because you've got philosophy, you've got psychology happening, you've got this fusion of culture going on. But I want to talk about your approach to sharing your music with the world, because there was a sort of proven path, but you decided to blaze your own trail. And that was even before the TikTok and social media. What gave you the courage and conviction to say that our music is so powerful, our energy is so positive, that we can find a new way of reaching? And this audience is not just contained to Texas, United States, or Canada. 70 countries around the world is your fan base. Tell us how that all came about.
It's not something that can just happen overnight. Over time, we started falling in love with these cultures and their languages and their music. And we started writing songs in those languages.
Do you ever find that, because this world is so negative, people waiting with their social media slingshots, do they ever attack you because you just seem so positive and so wonderful? Because I'm finding this world, it seems to be divided between people that would embrace everything you're saying and saying, I want more of it, and people that are angry that you have it and they don't.
For us, we are all about the utopian worldview. There's utopian and dystopian, and a lot of the media that comes out today is very dystopian, like the world is ending and it's getting worse. And that can really impact our peers and our generation, and it has, and we've seen that. And so the utopian worldview that we have taken over these past 16 years of creating music has really been a shining light, not only to us, but our fans and whoever wants to listen to our songs.
Yes, and we've experienced bullying at several different levels. When we used to perform when we were super young, people would look down upon us, call us the singing chipmunks, and kind of bully us off the stage in a way. And so, of course, nowadays, due to our live streaming, we're now under attack of cyberbullying, which can also be just as equally destructive. But we created our K3 motto back in 2014, because that's when we really started to gain popularity on the internet, to help us deal with our bullying. And in turn, by sharing our K3 motto, we were able to help other people who also suffer from bullying. And they've come to us saying how much it's helped them. Which, do you want to say our K3 motto?
Sure. The motto is, I will always believe in myself and celebrate my life and the lives of others.
I will respect the music and customs of others as long as they are not harmful to anyone.
I will stand against bullying of any kind and choose love over hate.
Do you ever realize now that you've gone from just being musicians and honoring your audience to now having to carry these important messages, that with that becomes a very different sense of responsibility? And is that something that you're willing to take on? Because it seems to be the more you move forward with your music, the more you're moving forward with messages.
We've always known that we had a positive message to share with others.
Seeing the comments really do inspire us to keep being better people and to share positive messages with people, because we've just heard so many stories, and not just from kids, but from the parents saying, my kid has autism and they love coming to your concerts and they love the positivity and they suffer from bullying and you guys have really helped them. And we've had people in person say thank you, and you guys were my childhood. You guys got me through the pandemic. And so we feel that we've created a safe place
where people can feel seen.
Yes.
Yes, the thing is you can't fix the world overnight. But the way we strategized about it is we'll take it one fan at a time, and then two, and then three. And over time, we have been able to implement.
Just like the tortoise and the hare.
Yes.
We are the tortoise.
You're moving pretty quick for tortoises. So, I mean, I think...
Well, I mean, they're an overnight sensation. It only took about 20 years.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you.
Yes.
She was rocking and reeling. Her fans were loving the feeling. The story's out in the morning news.
When we come back, Kaylin, Kelsey, and Kristen, better known as the K3 Sisters Band, we talk about where they want to take their music and message next. Hi, it's Tony Chapman. I want you to close your eyes for a second and think about the first time that music moved you. It might have been this song you played on repeat until you tested the patience of everyone around you. And think about how many times music has come to your rescue since. It might have carried you through a breakup when words fell short and silence felt too loud. It pushes you through the last stretch of a 10K when your legs are burning. It gives you permission to dance like no one is watching. And when you're alone, it becomes your companion. It creates space for reflection and inspiration and validation. Music takes you back to who you are at your core, but at the same time, it carries you towards who you're becoming. That is why music matters. And that is why supporting our young artists matter even more. And that's where RBC steps in. Through RBC First Up, RBC supports emerging Canadian artists with mentorship and development and real opportunities to perfect their craft and to sing for their supper. And if you live in Toronto or find yourself visiting this summer, you have to experience music on a whole new level at the RBC Amphitheatre. It's located on the waterfront, and it's designed to create immersive live experiences that bring artists and fans together in powerful, unforgettable moments. It all comes down to belief. Belief in artists, belief in shared experiences, and belief that culture is worth investing in. Music matters to you, and music matters to me, and music matters to RBC.
I fought the darkness of pain and despair and learned the ancient art of self-affair.
It really is a balancing act, because sometimes we'll be in a rehearsal, just like yesterday. We were so inspired by this interview that we actually got so energized. We worked on 3 brand new songs yesterday.
I will be all that remains. I'm burning bright, so feel my flame. My rightful throne I've come to claim. Hope you're proud of what I became. Listen well as they scream my name. You may think I've gone insane, but I do not need to explain.
me today is Kaylin, Kelsey, and Kristen Kassab, better known as the K3 Sisters Band. And their music is loved by fans in over 70 countries. So you're in a new chapter now with Queen of the Game, the upcoming album, which is 24 Karat Gold. Talk to me about what's next, because you've mastered the internet, the streaming, the weekly concerts. You've got direct access to your fans. You've built this community. You decide when the drawbridge comes up and down. What's next?
We already have our 17th album, all the songs written. We just have to finish arranging them. So as far as the music end, we're taken care of. But yes, we have also talked about finally making our documentary, because we have all this footage and we think our story is very, very interesting. We have a Japanese song called Rockabye Bye, and half Japanese and English, and people say, this could be an anime opening song. It's so cool.
Yeah,
so
our fans will be like, call Disney. Where's Netflix? We're not with a record label. You know, the term underground act, if you really look into it, that is sort of what we are. It just means not with a record label.
Is it formal or is it more flow that makes you unfold as the kind of band you are?
We have so many planning meetings all the time. In fact, another one of our sayings is do it yourself, but do it. And so we really take the time to, hone in on our craft and our plan and our future.
One of the really cool aspects about us is that we do not use auto-tune when we sing live or AI in any of the creation of our music.
The human element is always there in our live stream concerts, and our fans know that. Like, every note we're playing is live and in the moment, and it becomes just a authenticity about us that we think is very important.
Yeah, like there was this one time we were singing Melt, and Kaylin just bursted out laughing and couldn't sing the song. She was laughing like crazy.
Our fans won't let her forget about that.
I know,
they always mention that.
In some ways, you remind me of the band Fish. Every concert was different. Other times you remind me a little bit of what Taylor Swift's done with their community. Do all of these things become part of who you are?
We've always grown up admiring the Grateful Dead, for example, because they would tour and do a different show, a different lineup, every set list, every show. And that's exactly what we do. And since our music catalog is so extensive.
Yes, over 100 original full-length songs. And I think over 300 name songs.
Yes, I mean, we put a lot of effort into just one show, picking the lineup. Sometimes we're like, oh, we haven't done this song in like a few months. We got to rehearse. And so a lot of rehearsing goes into it. And it's just our formula that works for us, is doing different set lists. And people love to come. And that's kind of part of the intrigue, is people love to see like what songs we're going to do at each show.
So I got a hard question for you, because as I listen to the three of you and you're almost answering each other's sentence, you're just connected as this one powerful human spirit. Is there ever times with one of you just says, I need a holiday from you two. I just need to go and read a book. I want to curl up. I want to binge watch this reality show. I don't want to talk about music, philosophy, fans. I just need my own utopia. Does that ever happen?
Yes,
for sure.
All the time. I have a group of girlfriends that I do talk with, and we just talk about our struggles, outside of the band, like just what I'm going through personally, and we encourage each other that way. And we talk about books, we talk about movies. We all have found an outlet of things that help us in our mental health to help rejuvenate. But I will say, the three of us are best friends, and it doesn't take long for us to let loose and have fun together.
Yes, because we do enjoy a lot of the same shows. So we watch the shows together and fangirl over different characters.
Anime,
or just, different music, different books, romantasy books. I love to bake. Ever since I was really little, I've always loved to bake. And so I make,
let me tell you guys, she's one of the best bakers in the world.
And they can benefit from it, of course. But I love to do that. That's kind of it really just calms my mind.
What about love interests?
Wow. Many a man, many a people have tried.
We know that the timing is not right for a lover right now. So
yes, it's one of the many sacrifices that we have to make. But we're so busy with our day-to-day lives, and we want to fully commit to our band and our brand. And maybe one day we'll want to be in a committed relationship. Definitely, that's something we would want.
Now, the question really is, have you ever written a song about people? Maybe.
Their eyes might be translucent blue, but jet black hearts will beat untrue. They try to make you feel so good, and until the truth you've understood.
What's your advice to people listening in terms of keeping something together, even when, in the case of there's three of you, one or if not more could be moving in different directions?
Yes, so one common mistake that we've all made in our lives is not being honest and transparent with how one is feeling. You know, you're always tempted, to just subconsciously go, oh, I'm not going to say how I feel. Oh no, I'm not going to bring this up. I'm going to try and let go. Is to just be honest with one another. And that's what we do. Honest and upfront about whether it's a band situation or a sister thing. I love reading business and career books. Like my favorite one of all time is The Art of Savoir-Faire.
Yeah, Women Work and the Art of Savoir-Faire.
Marie speaks about the balance between your work life, as a woman especially, who was running a, conglomerate, and then the personal life as well, and just balancing that. So that's really helped us. When you're honest with yourself and the people around you, you're going to be happier.
By the way, we have also watched a lot of the band documentaries, and we have tried to really find the golden nuggets in every one of them and say, okay, this is what we shouldn't do, or that was a really cool idea.
That was growing up instilled in us of, if you sign with the record label, you got to make sure it's in your best interest, or they could have you basically as a slave your entire life. And we've been offered multi-million-dollar recording contracts that is basically like slavery, and we would be in debt our whole lives because you're only making a tiny bit of money. They're not giving you it all. And so we've had to turn it down and realize that this is the path for us, just our independence. And we want to be able to be direct to fan. That's our modus operandi, to reach them directly and personally.
So if I was on an airplane and I looked over and I saw the K3 sisters and you each had paper you'd stolen from the hotel and you were writing down where you're going to be in 10 years, what would be on that paper?
I would definitely say the talk show. That is something we would really love, is to just be able to perform ourselves, but also welcome other performers and talk with guests and just create a space, something that's never been done before.
And I would totally envision us doing a world tour. We really want to do a world tour.
Yes, and like I said, writing soundtracks or having some of our songs in feature films in Hollywood would be so cool.
Have you ever brought in another artist? Like, if you had someone else that came in and did a guest appearance with you, who would it be?
Goodness.
Wow. Oh my goodness. A dream one?
Ooh, I know.
Ooh.
John Mayer.
John Mayer.
Oh my gosh. We've seen The Dead and Company 3 times, 2 times in Texas, 1 time in San Diego. And we've always looked up to him and his guitar playing and voice. So that would be really cool.
I always end my podcast with my 3 takeaways. And there's actually one word that played a consistent chord since the second you came on this podcast. And that's the word listening. You talked about when you were kids, whether you were at church, you sang gospel. If you were at a fair, you sang country. You listened to what the audience wanted. You didn't just play what you wanted. And I think that listening has been something that is absolutely, even when you're in the Philippines or Japan, the cultural music, Celtic influences from Scotland, you're constantly listening to the world and then bringing it back to the world. And I think that is an incredible lesson in life for people to do it. The second one is, when you talk about listening, is just what you talked about when the sisters aren't always together, whether someone's frowning when you're recording or someone's not right, is just, how are you feeling? I want to listen to how you're feeling versus feel angry that you're not feeling the way I'm feeling. And I think that if we as human beings spend a little bit more time recognizing that just because somebody's frowning, it's not because they're frowning at you, it's because of their feeling inside. And the last one is, when you said, do it yourself, but do it. I think it's just so easy to point fingers and to question why things aren't happening. But do it yourself, but do it, I think, is very powerful advice. I happen to think I know you're going to have a talk show. You're magnetic, you're captivating, you've got positivity. Each one of you has a different role. It'd be a fascinating to interview each one of you independently, because the 3 of you have such incredible personalities. You're one, but as the power of 3, but you are 3 very different individuals. I absolutely loved having you on Chatter That Matters. I am blessed to have spent time with you today. I can't wait to share this with the audience and have people see just yet another side of the K3 Sisters band. So Kaylin, Kelsey, and Kristen, thank you so much for being part of it today.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you so much.
This was so much fun, and we appreciate you for taking the time and doing the research. We really, really appreciate
amazing
that.
questions. Thank you.
Yes, and shout out to anyone listening to this. K3SB fam.
Shout out to Chatter That Matters, and hello to Toronto, Canada.
Once again, a special thanks to RBC for supporting Chatter That Matters. It's Tony Chapman. Thanks for listening, and let's chat soon.